lot of women are told that they should just get over it, and there's nothing wrong with you. And even they'll go to their gynecologist. Gynecologists will check two things, right? Estrogen or progesterone. There's nothing wrong with you. Roll with it. Here's some birth control pills to get you back on a straight and narrow. And this reinforces to the women that they're crazy. And the truth is, they're not crazy. Their hormones are not in the right balance for them to be in the right state of mind. Hormones control every thought you're having and everything you do. Everything.
Every thought.
Every thought you have comes from a hormonal imbalance of one kind or another.
Wow.
It's how you feel.
If you're new here, welcome. My name's Emmy and I make videos on mental and spiritual health. I'm so excited to share this conversation with you all. We're going to be diving into hormonal imbalances and how that affects our mental health, how we can curb PMS, why the birth control pill shouldn't be a one-stop shop for all women with hormonal issues. And I'm also going to be sharing my story around my hormonal imbalances and how that really affected my mental health. And Dr. Erik will be explaining the science behind my experience, as well as the science behind hormones and how it relates to mental health and overall well-being. I've timestamped everything since this is quite a long conversation, but if you're interested in balancing your hormones and observing your hormones for better mental health and better overall well-being, then this is the conversation for you. I really hope you all enjoy it. Dr. Erik, please introduce yourself, because he has so many accomplishments and I can't remember them all, so go ahead.
Well, I've got a couple of things. I'm currently the Executive Medical Director at Bangkok Anti-Aging Center. I'm also a consultant for the U.S. military for veterans with disabilities. Also a doctor now for Teledoc Health, consulting with people mostly on COVID. I've been working for almost 30 years on most of the bad things that happen. I worked with Ebola for the U.S. State Department. Been working with HIV since 1991. Was one of the first people in private practice to take care of HIV when I was in Hollywood, California, and doing anti-aging for a lot of the Hollywood stars ever since then as well. So I never wanted to be out of a job. So I figured I know how to do everything. So.
All right, and you're certainly a specialist at so many things. I'm like really out of my comfort zone. Science is like my worst class. My worst.
Science is everybody's worst class. There's only a couple of us who understand it.
Science is like always my least favorite, and but yeah, I'm really interested in wellness, like homeopathy, and just like the natural remedy side of things. So, when you talk about regenerative medicine, right? How much of that is dependent on one's mental health?
It's interesting because those also go in flux, because when your body is in bad shape, your mind's in bad shape too. Because the same things that are not giving your body nutrients, the same hormone imbalances, which is one of the main parts, the same hormone imbalance you're having with your body that's causing all the physical attributes is weighing at least as heavily on your brain, if not more, right? Every thought you have is a neurotransmitter, right? It's one nerve talking to another, and then you're either going to be happy, sad, you're going to cry, you're going to move your arm, you're going to do something. Those are all hormonally based. And if your hormones are out of whack, those neurotransmitters are out of whack. When I was in California, I regularly got patients sent to me by psychiatrists, and they had put these people on loads of antidepressants all the time. First it was one antidepressant, then it was two, and then it was three, and then it was a sleeping pill, and then a stimulant, and, and then a seizure pill to stop the pain. And they would send them to me because they would say, well, I want you to check their hormones. By and large, in 80% of the cases, I would find a hormonal abnormality, low testosterone or estrogen, progesterone imbalances. Treat the hormonal abnormality and the depression goes away, because the hormone imbalance causes depression and anxiety. And then it snowballs.
Wow, that's amazing. And
there's a physical reason for almost everything that happens in life.
For both men and women, right? Because when we say hormonal imbalances, I feel like that's something that's a lot of people may think that it's only specific to women.
No, not at all, not at all. The only difference is that men's hormone balances hormone imbalances are far easier to treat than women's and have less of a complex interaction with the number of hormones going on.
Okay, I know this is like a really big question, but I will ask anyway, and then I'm sure you can answer it. But what are the causes of hormonal imbalances?
The number one cause of hormone imbalance is stress.
Okay.
Number one in
Wow.
the world, stress. Because, and I'll explain it on a biologic basis why it is. People think that stress is this amorphous cloud that they carry around, right? That stress is a non-tactile thing, something you can't quantify. The truth is, stress is very quantifiable. Your body has two hormone pathways. There's 55 hormones in the body, but two pathways, stress and sex. Okay? Sex hormones are regenerative. They build the body up. They keep the body healthy. The bones, the organs, the skin, the everything builds up. Stress hormones are protective and they're survival hormones. So imagine your body only has this amount of substrate to turn into hormones, because hormones are just little chemistry experiments, right?
Yeah.
So when your body is under stress, it stops making sex hormones and starts making stress hormones. These are called cortisol. A lot of people hear about cortisol, prolactin, noradrenaline, adrenaline. These hormones are determined to protect you from something bad happening. So they make your body blow up. They increase fat on your body. They keep you from losing weight. And they stimulate you because you might have to run somewhere. So those are the things that cause anxiety, cause stress, cause sleeplessness. Okay, so it's a vicious circle like that. Now, once you can remove that stress physiologically, and there's a lot of really good supplements that do it. I've never given a sleeping pill for it. Once that goes down, then the body starts making those really good sex hormones again. And your body builds up, you got a sense of well-being. And really just to segue into it for women's health, the number one reason that women go into early menopause is stress, because of what I just told you. Because imagine you need to make these healthy female hormones so you don't go into menopause. All of a sudden it's being stolen away to manage what you think is an out-and-out attack on your body. Right?
So
see, science is fun, right?
It is fun. It is really fun. It's wonderful, and you're great.
When you put it that way.
Yeah, when when it's so close to home, it's definitely something really interesting, and especially a subject that has been overlooked by a lot of people. And now that you say that stress is, the number one cause of hormonal imbalances, and that's directly linked to your mental health. Like your state of mind is directly linked to, the age, your biological age, right? So another question that I wanted to ask was, how do we know then that we're experiencing stress that's caused by hormonal imbalances as opposed to stress that's caused by other things?
Well, that's the thing. The body does not discriminate when it comes to stress. So stress can be any number of things. It can be psychological stress, relationship stress. It can also be obesity. Obesity causes inflammatory. Too much fat causes the body to be inflamed. When the body's inflamed, it makes stress hormones. Lack of sleep. The body feels like it's under attack when you don't sleep enough. Releases these protective hormones. Physical injuries, chronic diseases. Those 5 things cover just about everything in life.
So would you say just taking care of your hormones, you're taking care of so much of your body already?
It's in the school of anti-aging that I do. There's 3 different parts that I'll tell you about. It's the most crucial. I mean, why do you think? I mean, tell me who you think the most dominant group of people who go to a doctor for depression is.
Women.
Women. At what age do you think?
Maybe like postpartum, like after
40 and above.
Right. So like mother.
Change. Hormones start changing at age 42.
As well as me when I was in puberty, that was a crazy time for me as well.
Because of hormone changes, right? And imbalances.
Yes.
And I have a lot of. I mean, the biggest group of patients that I have in Asia, anyway, is women 40 through say 55, because they're very aware of these hormone changes and they're aware that they're not crazy. It's a physical manifestation. But the other group of women that I have are young women who have like PCOS or polycystic ovarian syndrome because it creates tremendous hormone imbalances. And mostly they don't come in because of hormone imbalance. They come in because they feel like they're depressed or they have anxiety or they're wired and they can't ever get that sense of well-being and balance.
So they say most of the time they've come to you because of mental health challenges, but they know that it's due to hormonal imbalances.
They're learning, and the unfortunate fact is that a lot of women are told that they should just get over it, and there's nothing wrong with you. And even they'll go to their gynecologist. Gynecologists will check two things, right? Estrogen or progesterone. There's nothing wrong with you. Roll with it. Here's some birth control pills to get you back on a straight and narrow. And this reinforces to the women that they're crazy. And the truth is, they're not crazy. They're hormonally, their hormones are not in the right balance for them to be in the right state of mind. Like I said, hormones control every thought you're having and everything you do. Everything.
Every thought.
Every thought you have comes from a hormonal imbalance of one kind or another.
Wow.
It's how you feel.
I did not know that before. That's amazing. Can you talk a little bit more about that and the science behind that?
Okay, for instance, just to talk about, when women are in their 20s and 30s, most people are okay because it's not the time of hormonal imbalance, although it does happen, of course. There are some women.
Early 20s was pretty hard.
Right, for 20s too, when the hormones are just kind of getting there, because they're rising up first from puberty and hitting a level of balance. And the level of balance biologically is so that women can have babies, right? Because you must have that hormonal imbalance in order to get pregnant. Then at about 40-something, 41, 42, the hormones start to drop off a little bit, not to the point where they don't exist, but to the point where they are imbalanced. Right, so women have, I know as much about ovaries as a man can know without having them. Okay. That's my claim to
You
fame.
probably know more than I know about my own ovaries.
I don't know as much about women about their ovaries, but I do know a lot about ovaries and what they do. That's the most important thing. One of the reasons I'm doing this is because I saw so many women going through what they felt was mental disease and emotional disease. And there's so many, not every case is hormonal imbalances, but a majority of them are absolutely hormonal imbalances. So when a woman turns 40, 42 or so, it's three really important hormones, right? Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And that's the one the gynecologists leave on, testosterone. So what happens is these three hormones don't drop like this. If they did, you would be in balance, right? Even though they're high, they're balanced. Even though they're low, they're balanced. And it's the interaction of these three that give you your sense of well-being. What happens though is estrogen stays high. Estrogen gives you your femininity, your emotional strength, your creativity, your passion. Progesterone is the leash that pulls you off the ledge, right? Progesterone is the most perfect hormone in the body. If men had progesterone, we would be much nicer people. Right? Progesterone is the one that keeps you calm, gives you nice skin, gives you your sex drive, gives you good sleep. Progesterone is the first one to drop off. So all of a sudden you have this unbridled estrogenic energy and nothing to talk you off the ledge. And that's why that hormonal balance happens in the 40s. The second thing is that the testosterone starts to drop off. So women have this much testosterone, this much estrogen. For men, it's opposite, right? But this much testosterone in women is what gives you your drive, your cognition, your ambition, your sex drive, your nice skin, your muscle strength. And when that's gone, and gynecologists aren't checking it, that's when they're telling women, there's nothing wrong with you, you're okay. By replacing that testosterone in women, you can't believe the difference in a woman's sense of well-being, in her sense of acceptance of her body, in her memory, and her drives. Because the other problem is, with men and women, it's not equal at the ages, what's going on. So you have women in their 40s who all of a sudden, for a reason that they can't figure out, have a sex drive that drops out. And they have their husbands going, well, what's up with this? And men in general are not very sensitive when it comes to their how can I put this? Voicing their sexual needs in a way that might not be accusatory. I understand this with women. It's very important for them to understand it. Because once you can convince somebody that they're not crazy, and that this has a biologic basis, then I think the guilt of it goes away. I think women feel very guilty and they're not being all that they have to be for their husband and for their family, and they feel like they're not stepping up to the table. So
and it's like, I think the societal pressure that we already have to carry, right, with or without hormonal imbalances. Like, I think a lot of people, especially women, I mean, I can speak for myself, is that we constantly feel like we're not enough, and we're constantly feel like we need to be better, we need to be prettier, we need to be smarter. And people who are coming to you are feeling that way, not knowing that it's actually just their body reacting a certain way. And so my question is, you know, you say that there's all these imbalances of hormones, and when people are given testosterone, they're feeling better. Is there a natural way without having to kind of inject particular hormones into your body for it to be balanced?
First of all, the hormones, I never use any synthetic hormones. We use bioidentical hormones, which are made from yams. Everything is plant-based. It's not it's estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, not all in the same one, but individually as somebody needs, right? But it's a plant-based bioidentical cream that simulates the same chemical structure as it would be. It's very kind, very gentle, and it'll make you get up like that right away. But the other thing that we do, and the majority of what we do, is hormone boosting, you know, natural supplements that will help to raise a woman's level at the same time that you're lowering their stress so they stop suppressing their own production. So usually, I mean, in most cases, in a young woman, and I'm considering a young woman anybody up to 45. In a young woman, if you can catch them, remove that stress while they still got that strong ovarian strength, and they're still young enough to regenerate, they will balance their own hormones again. Give a little boost, maybe give a little bit of bioidentical testosterone cream, just 1%, very, very low, to get them up in line, and then their natural. You see, the body wants to be on a rhythm, but we let our bodies, we accept the bad rhythms that our bodies are at. When you can put your body back into that normal rhythm, it will pick up the pace itself, because it wants rhythm and repetition.
But is there any way to, I don't know, it's not a scientific word, but is there any way to customize the levels of your hormones without any external help?
Depending on your age, right? You have to understand, at some age, we all do get older, and the organs that keep us old, we have built-in, evolution has built in these safeguards that we don't live forever. And one of them is that the hormones will start to fail, and then the body will start to fail. So at some point, everybody is going to come into a space where if they don't support their own hormone growth, that they will get older.
It's, I mean, from what we're talking about now, and for my own personal research about hormones and taking care of my hormones, I feel like just making sure your hormones is balanced, you're going to have a much healthier and happier life, right?
No question.
But why am I just learning about this in my late 20s? This is, you know, the question. Every time I learn about my hormones, I just can't stop but think about, why am I only learning about this now?
Well, you know, we're all, medicine is on a path of growth and progression. I think we're at a greater rate of progression and learning in science than we've ever been. You know, as time goes on and there's more science to it. So I'm happy that we've gotten to this point as far as we did. But previous to this, the reason what you're asking is because nobody really picked up this field. It's very strange. So when women had hormonal abnormalities, they went to the gynecologist. Now, gynecologists know a lot about estrogen, a lot about progesterone, but nothing about thyroid hormones, nothing about testosterone. No offense if anybody's a gynecologist out there, but they pick their path, right? The other doctor who knows about hormones is endocrinologist, right? But 90% of their work is on thyroid and diabetes. So they don't have a lot of experience with these hormonal abnormalities. So all of a sudden the person who might be having these intricate hormonal imbalances falls in between the gap.
Okay.
So then it was more of the regenerative doctors, the anti-aging doctors, who saw that, well, this is the relationship of hormones to aging and how you feel. You know, so it is a science that is picking up very quickly, fortunately. But you know, medicine and old paths and have been established, and people still go down them.
Yeah.
But I think we're doing well now, more with education. Let me tell you, there is a more educated patient clientele out there now than there ever was before. I mean, when the internet came out, people started coming to my office with these stacks like, can you read this before my next appointment? I'd be like, oh, here we go. But you know, now we have sophisticated clientele who come in with questions like that, who understand, hey, I've read this thing about my hormones, can you tell me more about it? The beauty of that is when you can educate somebody, you can set their expectations. In anything in medicine, your doctor should be setting your expectations about what he can, cannot do for you, and how long it should take for you to get that.
All right, so basically, it's just a really new field that is just beginning to kind of become more mainstream, and that's why people are only just starting to learn about it now. So when we talk about hormones, I feel like a lot of women will think about PMS, premenstrual symptoms, right? Because that's the time where nearly everyone feels it. Like that is the time where you can feel the hormonal imbalances. The people
That's
around,
a woman's first realization.
yeah, the people around you can feel it as well. And I think talking to my friends, everyone felt like this is just a curse of a woman. We have to feel moody, we have to get cramps, we have to suffer from all these symptoms. Is that statement true?
PMS is very difficult to treat because it's very different in everybody. It's a lot of trial and error with people. But where I would go to with it, where everybody is kind of the same, is the stress reaction that comes from it. And if during PMS, if you can treat the stressful parts of it, if you can assure good sleep, good relaxation naturally, right, with things like melatonin, L-tryptophan, ashwagandha, which is a adaptogenic herb that everybody knows about.
Love ashwagandha. Right.
If you can use those strategically during PMS and then get a couple of ideas what it is, then that's better. If your PMS is just like raging awful and you can't even function, then then during your PMS you should get a blood test done to see where your levels of hormone are at that point, to see if you can optimize one or the other during it to diminish the pain and the suffering.
Okay, so there are self-care steps that you can take, and I can testify to that because I used to get really bad PMS in a way where I was just a monster. I don't get cramps, luckily, but I would get horrible mood swings every time before, during my luteal phase. And what I did was, I made sure that I take adaptogens, I meditated, I would say no to a lot of things. Like my boundaries are really clear before, I really take care of myself. I go to the spa and I'll make sure that I put myself before others. And I think that that's really, really helpful. And from talking to you as well, you say that the link between stress and hormones is just, it's the same. It's almost like the same thing, right? It is stress and hormones.
Very much the same.
It's pretty much the same thing. So what you're saying is that we can avoid PMS when we're in control of our stress, basically.
I'm saying it will help because control of PMS. If any doctor out there can come up with a PMS pill, he can be up there with Elon Musk. Yeah. Because it's very, very prominent and it's very undertreated. Because it's so difficult to do. There's other things where we can come up with a solution and go, this is going to work on 90% of the people, but on PMS it doesn't. It's again one of those emerging fields where people start looking at it more in depth than, well, this is going to happen every month and here's some Motrin and a Xanax and that'll get you through it.
Yeah, and that's what happened to me as well, because I feel like from the conversation that we're having, a lot of symptoms that are caused by hormonal imbalances have been mistaken for other illnesses. Like for me, when I was in puberty, I was diagnosed with depression and ADHD. Well, I was diagnosed with depression and ADHD since I was really young, when I was like 7, 8, and I feel like, and then And then up until high school, I was taking Zoloft and Ritalin. And I felt like that had so much detrimental effect to my mental health. Like I felt like when I was on it, my mood swings were crazier. I felt like I didn't really have control over myself and my mind.
You probably never got to feel like yourself.
Yeah, until I stopped. And that's when I really got to know myself, you know? So yeah, can you talk a little bit about that? Like I really feel like I was wrongly diagnosed by my psychiatrist. What was my hormones doing when I was 8 up until high school?
Well, you were probably going through very large estrogenic swings at that point. And if I had somebody come to with me like that now, the first thing I would check them for is PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, because the menstrual cycles are abnormal. Which, if the menstrual cycles are abnormal, if you're getting your period twice a month or not getting it a month and a half, your hormones are imbalanced by definition. Right. But other thing is that women who have PCOS have abnormally high levels of testosterone, and those levels of testosterone can come out in rage. Rage and mania. You can get mad with it too. So, but those are all. For those women, when we identify them early, it's very treatable. Very good. With my PCOS patients, I'd say about 90% of them respond very well once you can cut the stress down, and then it makes the hormones. PCOS women are always going to have a little bit of hormone imbalance, but it normalizes it to the point where they can cope with it and not feel like they're crazy.
So when you're able to control your stress, you're able to balance your hormones better.
Much better. Well, your body will balance them better because it'll be doing what it's supposed to do, which is to make these beautiful, regenerative, strong, great feeling sex hormones.
Okay. But what I'm not hearing from you is birth control pills. From my conversations with my doctors or conversations with my friends, every time they go to a gynecologist and they have some, issue with their period or PMS symptoms, or even sometimes their skin.
Yes, me.
Yeah, they are prescribed with birth control pills. And personally, I stopped birth control last year and I felt like a new person.
Right.
Yeah, tell us why you haven't proposed that.
Well, it's kind of what I was talking about before, and here's why I have issues with birth control pills. Okay. Number one, when you are taking birth control pills, your ovaries are suppressed, right? Your body has a very eloquent feedback system. So whenever I give you a hormone to take, your body stops production because it doesn't want to overdose on it. Now, if you take birth control pills, for a lot of women, take 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? It's a long time. So your ovaries are going to atrophy, which is probably going to lead you towards an earlier menopause because you will not have healthy cells that are used to producing, and they wither and they atrophy, and then early menopause. Second big reason, which is even more important, your ovaries are not only responsible for estrogen and progesterone, but also for testosterone. So every time these younger women are taking birth control pills, they are suppressing their testosterone. As I said before, testosterone is crucially important for your strength, your memory, your sex drive, your sense of well-being. And so what I've found is that women, when they come off of birth control pills, their testosterone is at postmenopausal levels. Like they have the testosterone level that other women would have at the age of 55 in menopause.
Oh my goodness.
So that's why I have a big problem with it. It's like doing, birth control pills are like doing incomplete hormone replacement. It's like giving two and forgetting about the third one. But the third one is very crucial to how you feel. The reason you probably felt better when you got off of birth control pills is because your testosterone level came up again, finally, right? And fortunately, you're young enough where it does come up. But the women I'm dealing with, they're coming to see me around 40, 43, 44, and they've already suppressed their testosterone levels for so long that they're just not going to come back. Then we have to do a lot to re-stimulate them and ultimately replace it. But then when these women go back on their testosterone levels are normal, then they're like, wow, this is how I used to feel. That's what they say all the time. This is how I used to feel. So I am not a fan of birth control pills used rampantly.
Okay.
Right? There probably are situations for it, and I'm not a gynecologist by any means. But if it's a situation where you can do either boost somebody's hormones naturally or selectively replace them, I think you're better off than just here, take birth control pill. I mean, you can buy birth control pills here in Thailand as easy as you can buy Tic Tacs and Snickers bars.
Yes.
And
along with other medicine that you can buy.
But birth control pills, like I said, when women come into me, and I always question, when somebody comes in to see me, I ask 3 pages of questions. I want to know what you're about and what your goals are. And I always ask, have you been on birth control pills? When I see people tell me that they've been on them for 10 years, I know where they're going with this. Right? I can pretty much predict from seeing that what is causing a majority of the problems. So yeah, not a big fan.
All right. Yeah. So because I felt this boost of confidence when I stopped my birth control pill. Like the first few months was a bit, weird because my body was adjusting to it. But like after the 3 month mark, like I felt like a new person. I was confident.
Right. Well, see, that makes sense because it takes 60 to 90 days for your testosterone to rebalance out again. So you finally get to feel what we men feel every day of our lives.
That's amazing. But so then why are all these women being prescribed birth control for everything?
This is the state of the art right now. Because if you're having a menstrual abnormality, you're not going to go see me. You shouldn't. See a gynecologist, but the gynecologic community also needs to be educated on the things that we're doing. It's been my experience that gynecologists pretty much focus like this, though. I like learning about other parts of medicine. For me, it's exciting. I'm an oncologist and infectious disease doctor, but I want to know what gynecologists are doing. I want to know what endocrinologists are doing. I want to know what surgeons are doing, because it helps me to understand the entire health of a patient. But a lot of doctors are very busy, and they don't get the chance to delve into other areas and know what other doctors are doing.
Yeah, and I feel like this is not just for gynecologists, right? It's also for other kind of doctors who are in different types of expertise. And how can we as patients be more kind of well-rounded about our own bodies?
I think patients are more sophisticated now than they've ever been because they actually do read up on things. For better or for worse. Right. For some people, they'll read 3 articles about it and decide they have cancer. And that's not helping things either. But it should lead you to ask better questions as a patient. And here in Thailand, too, doctors, in Asia in general, doctors are not used to answering an endless plethora of questions.
They get annoyed all the time when I ask questions.
They get annoyed with questions. However, the way it should be, if you're coming to me as a patient, I work for you. You are hiring me. That's our contractual relationship, right? If I'm not doing that job for you, I should be fired. It's not your privilege to see me. It's my privilege to work for you. And that's the way I was always trained in medicine.
How do we change that?
No, we don't change that. We hope for a faster evolution. But the truth is that the more patients are educated and the more that the hospitals mandate that their doctors are seeing a bigger group of educated, motivated patients. And the truth is that it's the old school doctors. I guess I'm one of them right now. But the old school doctors were the ones who were raised with that idea that here's this, now you can shut up and leave. Whereas the younger guys coming up are being trained in a different social environment. I'm sorry, I disagree with that. I actually grew up having nocosomophobia, like the fear of hospitals, because I just hate how I went there.
when you're a doctor, I just hate how doctors treated me because, like we spoke about earlier, how in Thailand doctors are like worshipped. If you have a doctor in front of your name, you're worshipped. And going into the gynecologist's office is it's already uncomfortable as it is, right? Like it's already uncomfortable. You're up there, you're kind of like opening your private parts to,
it's a vulnerable position.
It's a really vulnerable position. And then, I'm a really friendly person and I'm a very curious person. So I want to ask questions and then they just don't want to give their time to me, and they
Right.
just make me feel really uncomfortable. And that's why I trust more of like the holistic wellness doctors, because I feel like they really take the time to like answer my questions. And what I mean by how can we change that is how can we as patients
Right.
change this relationship?
Well, you got to find the doctors who are going to talk to you. So like I said, but it's an evolution because
Okay.
the more questions are asked. Look, for me, if I can educate a patient, it doesn't take that long to do. I'm busy
Yeah.
also. I'll see
Yeah.
10, 15 patients a
Yeah,
day,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But if I can sit there for 5 minutes and educate you on this, then you're going to understand it better. You're not going to come to me and say, I'm singing in the key of C right now. Is this
Yeah.
because of my hormones?
Yeah.
You're going to understand it better, and you're going to know what resources to go to. I want my patients to leave my office educated.
Yeah.
It's better for them and it's better for me.
For sure.
But how are we going to change it? Like I said, I'm the old guard. I just got to hope that the schools are now telling people, like, these are your patients, these are valued citizens. We were still always taught that it's an incredibly, it's a luxury to have a relationship with a patient come to you, and it must be protected, respected, and treated with the utmost understanding of how somebody feels. But then again, it depends on what field you're going to, right? I was an oncologist. So when a cancer patient comes in, you want to talk about somebody with anxiety and fear and no idea what's going to happen to them or what you're going to do. It's very important for us to educate those patients and assuage their fears and set their expectations. So something I always did. I mean, if you can do that with a cancer patient or an HIV patient who's only got 6 months to live, then talking to somebody with realistic fears that are not going to kill them is actually much easier.
Yeah, and like creating that safe space for them to feel safe, right?
It should be. It's a privilege to be able to treat patients.
Well, if only all doctors feel that way.
I think most of them do. Most doctors are good guys, but the problem is that most doctors during their training have become socially stunted because they never took a humanities class. They just, I want to churn this out and finish it, and I'll become a doctor, and then everything, life will be great for me, and I'll get a great wife or boyfriend or whatever you're in, then life's good. I was very lucky because I went to University of Pennsylvania, and I was an English major. So I got to read books, and write, and do things like that because I wanted the human side of me to be as strong, for better for worse, as the medical side is.
And it's also like the structure of kind of the medical industry doesn't help as well, right? Like how many patients are doctors seeing, and like are they sleeping enough as well?
Right, well, that's getting worse.
Yeah.
That's getting worse because especially in America, it's mandated that doctors will see 6 patients an hour. And one of my friends there actually told me that doctors, they tell the patients, I can only talk to you about 2 of your problems. If you want to do a 3rd problem, you must make another appointment. That's insane.
Yeah. Or they redirect you to someone else in the hospital.
Right, but I mean, if you have 10 minutes to talk to somebody, I mean, if you're treating a runny nose or something, that's probably all it takes. If you're treating complex issues, it's not enough, nor should it be. You know what I mean? Which is probably the number one reason why I finally left the American medical system, because I was not ready to cave to that for the sake of my patients.
Because it's really hard, right? Like, I mean, for example, when a patient would come to you, you can't just diagnose someone at face value. You need to really understand what their history is. And our bodies are really complex things.
Right. Now, the older you get, the better you are at doing that faster. When somebody comes in and I start talking to them, I can pretty much tell you what your hormone levels are. That's my
Really?
great
Can you
party
tell
trick.
what my...
Of course.
Really? What is my hormones level?
So when people come in with certain issues that they talk to you about, hormones are very predictable. And the responses are predictable.
Okay. How can I better understand my hormones and predict my own hormones?
The way you can understand it the best is by understanding what each one of these hormones function as. And, don't go read about 55 different hormones, but if you read about what testosterone does in low testosterone states, if you read about high estrogen, if you read about low progesterone, just those 3 things, you will understand so much more and have better expectations about what you're feeling during your menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And if they're ever
Okay.
out of balance. Because, like you said, the predictable things. Estrogen is going to give you the emotional highs and the passion. Progesterone is going to give you the calmness and the sleep and the, the well-being.
Yeah.
Testosterone is going to give you the ability to sit on the edge of your seat instead of back like this. It's actually fairly, it's really not that complicated. I'm not the smartest doctor in the world. But when you can see patterns and understand what things do and know that there's a biologic basis for everything, including depression and anxiety, then you can approach it. If somebody says, I don't feel good and it's all in my head, I don't know what to do with that.
Okay. So let's take that as an example, right? Let's say I'm feeling really low. This is actually a true example. In my ovulatory phase, I often feel really low. So I don't PMS during my luteal phase, which is when most people PMS. But I feel like during my ovulatory phase, I sometimes feel a low energy. And that's when estrogen is supposed to peak, right? So that means that my estrogen is not peaking during my ovulatory phase.
You're still really young.
Yeah.
So your estrogen probably is still peaking.
Yeah.
Plenty, but it's more of the balance of where it is with the progesterone.
Oh,
And depending because you're on birth control. If somebody tells me that they're on birth control pills, I'm going to say, it's because you have no testosterone in your body, and this is when you're going to feel it.
During the ovulatory.
When because then as the low comes, and usually it's the testosterone that still keeps you going during those times. And if you have none, you're just going to be like, I'm done.
Okay.
I got nothing.
Okay. Because it was like suppressed for so long, right? Right. And it's just all about that, like really understanding where you are in your phase, and also just observing yourself and how you're feeling and how that might be related to hormones.
Right. So if you're listening to this out there, and you're people who are on oral contraceptives and birth control pills, depending on your age, definitely go out and get your levels of testosterone checked, and check two things, not just testosterone. It's free testosterone and total testosterone. Okay. Because the free testosterone is the one doing all the work. Total testosterone is like keeping food in the freezer. It's around, but it's not functioning. It's just waiting to be released.
Okay.
And people under stress, they keep more of that bound testosterone. So you can have all the testosterone in the world in your body, but because of the stress, you're not getting free testosterone, so it's essentially like you don't have it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense to me.
So it makes sense. It's like testosterone is it's almost like your energy, right? Like the energy hormone that
and drive,
drives and like the
ambition.
motivation. And going back, that just reminded me of my psychology 101 class in college, when I was taught that there's eustress and there's de-stress, and there's like useful stress and there's stress that's just useless, that's like anxiety, crippling, kind of negative conversations looping in your head. But then there's also like the healthy stress. Is there such thing as like healthy stress?
I never took psychology 101. Actually, I skipped that. Is there healthy stress? From a biologic level, no. No.
Okay. Like your body will register stress as stress.
Stress is stress, and it's going to say, stop making the sex hormones. We need more help down here in the protective hormones.
Okay.
So I don't think so. I don't think there's there's ambition. And if you're calling it that, like something to get you to get up and do something.
Like I kind of have to be on point today because I want to be present in this interview. And that's like a little bit stressful, but my body will register that as like stress.
Yes.
No matter what.
However, depending on your experience with stress, I have some people come in and they're CEOs and they're running corporations, and their stress hormone level would be absolutely normal because their bodies have adapted to it and no longer react to it. They don't get a biological reaction to it. Whereas other people just stay, they're pinned with high cholesterol, and it's just how they run, and it's not healthy.
Okay. All right. So with that being said, you're saying that we can actually train to increase our stress threshold.
Your body wants to feel better. Okay. So in most people, you will compensate for it, and your body won't, like if you had the same stress happening today, and then I stress you out 30, 40 days in a row, and all of a sudden you're like, it's no big deal anymore. But you're no longer going to get that chemical reaction that you get from it. Your body will want to adapt to it. Most people can do that.
Okay, and that's a good thing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
We are adaptive animals. If you look at us from where we started living on the rocks with no clothing, we are adaptive people. Our brains make us adapt, not only physically and mentally, but physiologically.
Yeah, yeah. But our brains still have a long way to go, right? Because like our stress.
I hope this is not. I hope this is not the end all.
Our stress responses are still very much on high alert. Whether we get stressed at work, our body is going to respond the same way as back in the days where we saw like a tiger and we had to run.
It depends on what your trigger is with it. Yeah. For instance, I get stressed with anything about my kids, and I overreact. Yeah. And I'm sure my cortisol levels go up. Yeah. But if there's a bus crash and I'm in the ER, I get quiet. It's what you're it's what you're trained to do. Okay. When something like that happens, I get unbelievably focused and all the noise goes away. But if it's something with kids or emotional problems or arguments, I can't handle that. Violence, I'm fine with. Not doing violence, but handling situations where people need help right away. That is nothing stressful like that for me. Handling emotional stress and topics. Discussions and feelings. That's when I get peaked.
But then that's really hopeful because you have grown up in that, right? And like you've been so used to that, so it's almost like you have conditioned yourselves to stay calm and not stressed during those really stressful moments in the ER.
Right. That's natural. But then, then you would think I would be the worst psychiatrist in the world because. Like I said, I've been trained to know that there's a biologic basis for just about everything. And endless discussions over certain topics, I don't find them useful, although they may be for people. I'm just not the guy to do it. Right?
I think I really believe that we're all put into this world for a particular purpose, right?
Right, and you know your limitations, you know what you're good at, and thank God we got other people who do the things that we can't do.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that has been so helpful, and I think that's going to be so educational for everyone. So let's just wrap things up and summarize what we spoke about. Let's say I am really struggling every month during PMS. Like I am, I'm getting cramps. I'm just really moody. I have no energy. Where do I start, and how do I better take care of myself and my hormones?
If you really want to investigate it, I'd say during your PMS, get a blood test. Check your basic hormones. Estrogen, progesterone, free total testosterone. And the stress hormones, prolactin and cortisol. And then you can know how to attack it, to lower the parts that you can. I mean, when it comes to like I said, if you go to a gynecologist with that next in your hand, you use a pack of Yasmin and go, I got your cure right here, which is not, it's a temporizing.
It's like a numbing. It's like you're numbing it, right? Is that what it's
Well, no, you're taking away your hormonal cycle and replacing it with a standard one while suppressing your own hormones. And that's the problem I have with it. You're young. You're vital. You don't want to suppress your hormones. Nothing good's going to come of it. Right? Unless they're out of whack and there's, mood swings that are making you suicidal or going to hurt somebody, then but that's pretty rare. That's really rare.
Like if there's an alternative solution, it's going to be better than birth control.
Definitely. Or, you see, birth control is just like the one-stop shop fix. It's got everything in it. But hormone problems are usually selective hormone problems. Right? It's usually the estrogen or the progesterone or the testosterone. So why would I give you it's like when you come in and you're sick and I give you 3 antibiotics and an antiviral and the antifungal pill. That's not going to help you. So it should be more handled selectively, but that takes a little bit of investigation and work.
And how about once we're aware, how can we better take care of our stress levels that would help us with hormonal balance?
Well, prevention of stress is much easier than removing stress. So when you know it's coming up, there's certain things that you do to take care of your body. Number one, most important, do not forget this, get 7 hours of sleep.
7?
7 hours of sleep. 7 is the magic number. And I'm not just saying it because my mom told me 7 hours of sleep, right? But there's been any number of studies done that have shown that 7 hours of sleep is the critical point. Whereas if you chronically get less than 7 hours of sleep, there is more incidence of cancer, of diabetes, of heart attacks, of Alzheimer's, of all forms of dementia, of obesity. Because if you don't get 7 hours sleep, your body will make more cortisol, and cortisol makes you retain.
Why is that?
Because it's the way the body thinks that you're going to get some kind of physical stress done to you, so it makes you fat.
When you're not getting 7 hours of sleep.
Yep, your cortisol goes up. Cortisol makes you gain weight, retain water, and hold fat. Because that's your body's primordial response to survival. 7 hours of sleep, if you're not getting it, like I said, it's the number one health risk in the world. More than cancer, more than heart disease, more than COVID.
Wow.
Sleep.
Yeah.
If you normalize your sleep and you get 7 hours of sleep, you'll find that a lot of your hormonal abnormalities go away. You'll find a lot that depression goes away. You'll find out that fatigue goes away, that eating disorders go away, because they are responses to sleep deprivation. It's insidious.
Does it matter what time you go to sleep, or can you go to sleep at like 3 a.m. and then wake up at 10 a.m.?
If you get 7 hours of sleep, as long as you're in a dark room when it's happening, then I don't really think it matters, quite honestly. To be, but you need to adapt to somebody's life, right? I can't come in and say, okay, I know you do your best work at night, but you got to go to sleep at 10 and wake up at 6. And that's just the way it is. That's not going to help you.
Okay.
Right.
Because I've always heard that, I don't know, my mom always, maybe it's her way of getting me to sleep earlier, but
Mom's told us a lot of stuff.
apparently your growth hormones is being released at like 10 p.m. or something.
True.
To 12, is that true? So
growth hormone is higher at night.
Yeah.
No question.
So if you don't sleep by like 12 a.m., do you miss out on that?
I don't think it's clinically relevant, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
I think the lack of sleep is far more detrimental than the mild push that you're not getting a growth hormone. And if you're not sleeping, growth hormone goes way down, way down.
And is it crucial for you to sleep at the same time every day, like to have a consistent sleep schedule?
Yes, because the body enjoys rhythm. The body does not like dysrhythm.
Okay.
This is why COVID made everybody so crazy. Everybody's off their rhythms.
Okay. Oh.
All about rhythms.
That's so simple. Like everything that we spoke about is so simple. Like it's literally just sleep, take care of your stress, observe yourself, and have a rhythm for your body.
I'm telling you, I'm not that smart. I'm really not that smart. These are very practical, simple things where you get proper biologic response to it.
Does that apply to food as well?
Very much so. Very much so.
So it's
food is a whole other talk. We can talk, but if you're not doing intermittent fasting, you should do it. Best diet in the world. For your hormones, for your growth hormone in your brain, for weight loss, for sense of well-being.
Wow. Okay. And you can start off from like 12 hours, right? Or do you have to do it for like 14, 16 in order to really see the benefits?
I'm a pretty extreme and regimented person. I don't like, if you're going to do it, you should do it.
Yeah.
So I think that 16 hours is very important.
16 hours, so 12, is that too?
It's good, but you're not getting the benefits that you should get unless you're doing 16 hours.
How about the people who do like 24 hours and like 48 hours?
I know a couple guys, I know a couple people who do that. That kind of fasting, look, any kind of fasting is good for your body. There's no question. And we break that down in between episodic and chronic fasting, right? Turns out each one of them are good for different things. But if you're doing a fast like every 4 months, right? Then you got that 3 months and 26 days of not fasting. I would prefer to do things over a period of time rather than do the great purge. It's really good to do fasts once in a while and do a 3-4 day fast or juice fast or whatever. But understand that those 4 days is not going to make up for the last 4 months. Right? We're just going to work like that.
All right. So sleep well.
Sleep
well. Take care of your stress levels. make sure you have a rhythm going on, observe yourself, and that's pretty much for the magic, like a magic pill.
The 7 hours of sleep will fix most of your problems, to tell you the truth.
Okay. It's not 8, it's not 9. What if I sleep for 9 hours? Is that good too?
Go for it.
Okay.
Get those
So
extra 2. God bless you.
all right,
I wish
so
I had those 2 hours. But 7 hours is the magic number.
7 minimum, that's the magic number. And
There's so many studies. If you just look up sleep studies in 7 hours, like it's the easiest thing in the world to study, right? The laziest scientist in the world said, I'm going to study sleep, because all you have to do is watch people for 7 hours and draw some blood.
And it has to be deep sleep as well, right? How do we know if we had a deep sleep now?
If you are dreaming, you are getting into deep sleep. If you are not dreaming, then the chances are that your levels are not getting where they need to be. And interestingly enough, if I can do a little self-promotion, we actually have a product now called Dr. Erik's Bedtime Story that I'm doing with the lovely and talented boy, Trichara. And we have actually tested this product with sleep cycles, with iPhone ergonometers and Fitbit and everything. And we have actually seen where these levels are. Your sleep is not supposed to go like this and stay deep. Your brain is doing a number of different activities at night. So you need to see those small dips, but you want to be down there. If anybody's seen the sleep cycles, it's on every app, every phone in the world has it now. It shouldn't be down like this, because that means you're on drugs. That means you're taking Xanax or something that's not letting your brain recover as well. But if you're getting these normal dips, then it's normal. If you're not, then even though you're sleeping the 7 hours, you're not really getting 7 hours of sleep. People with high blood pressure, untreated, they don't get 7 hours of real sleep. They're always up.
So how can we improve our quality of sleep?
Quality of sleep has to do with sleep hygiene first, which says have a very dark room. When you're light, even though you have your eyes closed, even when you're sensing light, it makes your pineal gland perk, and it wakes you up when you don't get into those stages. Do something that I never do before I go to sleep, which is put your phone down a half hour before.
At least.
At least I never do that. Make sure the room is as cold as possible. Cold is really important for the sleep.
What temperature would you say?
Just like a good air conditioned. Just make sure it's cold. I don't want people sitting there for their sleep. But you know if you're cold, right? Stay away from sugars. Sugars will wake you up. Right? Sugars, and that includes alcohol as much as they do like a drink once in a while. Alcohol will put you to sleep, but 4 hours later it turns into pure sugar. Which is why people don't sleep well after alcohol. They say wine puts me to sleep, and then 4 hours later, boom.
And of course the noise pollution as well. I mean, I live in the middle of Bangkok, and the noise pollution is pretty loud. What can I do to help with that?
With noise pollution, because I lived in major cities, and I got to tell you, I slept better in New York than I did anywhere in the world.
Really?
Yeah, I think after a while your brain adapts to that noise, and then if you go into a quiet place, your body will adapt to what it is eventually. But try to keep the room quiet, of course.
Well, that's a really good way to end the talk. To know that our bodies will adapt to so many things, right? Like to know that if you're not feeling good right now, know that if you're having health challenges, maybe physical or mental, there's always a solution. There's always a way out. And
the body's ability to regenerate when you put it in the right space is better than any machine or any AI computer on the planet. It is when you can put it back into those right rhythms. And this is why you can also stop people. You can literally stop people from aging if you focus on hormones, on their growth hormone production, and on their mitochondrial strength, which is a whole other talk that we'll have sometime, because it's fascinating, I promise you. But you can actually stop people from aging because their bodies will pick up naturally.
Without the Botox, without the surgery.
None on this space, maybe in the future.
You can really kind of just, it's almost like activating and regenerating your body from the inside out. And as you've heard from throughout our talk, that it's very much linked to stress. So you can't just take care of your physical body and neglect your mental health. They go hand in hand. And any last words?
Yeah, so no more anti-aging, regenerative medicine.
Yes. Okay.
Let's call it what it is,
Okay.
right?
Yes, that's it. Is there anything you'd like to say to the audience?
No, I just hope everybody's feeling well out there. If they have more questions about hormones, especially if you're in Bangkok. The majority of people I see in my medical practice now is people with hormonal imbalance issues. If you want to get in touch with me,
where can people find you?
she knows how to find me. I am at Bangkok Anti-Aging Center at the Patumwan Princess Hotel. I don't have the number, but it's very easy to find. But that's where the office is. I'm there every week. Like I said, any questions, I'm sure Emmy can steer you in the right direction.
Sure. I will leave all the links in the description box below. Thank you, Dr. Erik, so
my
much
pleasure.
for talking to me. It's been so nice, and I'm sure so many people have learned from this. I'd love to hear what you learned from this, what your favorite parts were, and if you have any questions, let us know. I'm sure we kind of like just covered the basics here. But yeah, thank you again.
Oh, my pleasure. Nice to see you.